Thanks for joining us on Read All About It. I'm your host, Stephanie Milan, and today we're here with inspirational humorist author Matt Goldberg. Matt, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
So today I wanted to talk about humor. That's a big part of your writing, and I wanted to know, because I think a lot of people are, they want to be funny, or they are funny when they talk and they're having a conversation, but when it comes to writing funny, and not, writing funny, it's more difficult to do. So that's what I wanted to know from you. How easy is it for you to include humor in your writing?
To me, I'm actually a very serious person. I just happen to be blessed and sometimes cursed with a hyperactive sense of humor. But I think the key is just to be authentic. We all know the people that try just a little bit too hard, whether in person or in their writing. And I think that I do have the ability just to kind of let it flow. At times I have to sort of suppress it if I'm writing a more serious piece, and I don't have to worry about getting in humor every sort of paragraph. So I don't really have a template for it. Luckily, I could just kind of let it flow, and it kind of comes out organically. So my advice would be for people, don't put on a show, just be yourself, be authentic, and the readers and the viewers will find you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because when I was reading your book, which I absolutely loved, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, Hot Ice Cream, I was sitting there going, this is like a comedy act. Like, you could have really taken these bits and done a stand-up comedy show, and people would have been, rolling on the floor laughing because it was that funny. And I just, I commend you on that. Because
thank you. I've done a lot of public speaking, and I often use humor, but a lot of the good lines, and we'll talk about, were my 6-year-old son. From the ages of 2 to 6.
Of the show.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
All right, so also I wanted to know, what is it that inspires you? Because I know, a lot, your son comes out a lot in your books and in a lot of the things that you write. So what inspires you? Obviously, he would be an inspiration, right?
Sure. Being a dad, the trials, the tribulations, along with the joys, inspire me. I love the arts. I love people who just express themselves very well. Kindness inspires me, and sometimes when it's not present in the world, I'm inspired to rant against it. Social justice. I'm an incurable sports fan. And I'm geeked up on public speaking and writing itself. So those are some of my points of inspiration.
And you had mentioned about the entertaining through using your son and how he is so influential. And when we get into Hot Ice Cream, I was so blown away by some of the things that he said, and it was just wonderful. Now, you also write columns as well, and you said you started off writing that, and I wanted to know what your difference was between writing the columns and then writing a book. Did you find that it was a completely different process? What was that like for you?
Not really, in that the books that I've done so far are episodic, if you will. I've compiled a series of columns in one book, All That Twitters Is Matt Goldberg, that I wrote for Writers, E-Magazine, and E-Zine. And then it almost accidentally told a tale of my own life along with some other standalone writings. So I've done that. My compilation of words made one book. But the process, really, any time I think someone puts their name on something, it should be good. You want to represent your name, your family name very well, do justice to that. But there are other aspects to the book that I guess make it a little bit differently. Because what's the saying? It takes a week to write and then a year to edit, and getting it just right, and sometimes we obsess about that, and there are a lot of other steps to it. But the actual writing process for me is fairly similar.
Okay, yeah, and that brings me into, I want to talk about the perfectionism, because I know that we had kind of touched on this before. So, what did you call yourself? A recovering
yeah, I'm an anti-perfectionist, but I'm still in the recovering state. So when I speak, I'll say, I'm an anti-perfectionist, but I'm still a recovering perfectionist. So please forgive me if this is too perfect. Which it never is, But yeah, my own perfectionism, my form of it has led to procrastination. And not getting really all my ideas out there, maybe going after the jobs I really want, or really finishing all the works. Now, at least I've gotten past that a little bit. And I think once you free yourself of that sense of perfectionism, because it's usually imposed on you by others, right? Then you're free to have actual, more realistic and higher standards for everything you do. So that's one of the messages I want to get out in the moments where I'm a little more serious about what I put out there. But I think it's a big thing, because perfectionism leads to health risks, it leads to shame and guilt for no reason, a lot of unproductive feelings. Unproductive or non-productive?
You know what?
I don't use words very well.
Not productive. So, yeah. No, that is a very, very important point, that perfectionism can really keep you from making something happen. And, you know, at some point you just have to trust yourself and not listen to what other people say, and I think you covered that great.
I think so.
Now let's talk a little bit about writing form. Regimented writing versus free form. I know that I have talked to people who say, look, I get up in the morning, this is what I do. I write from 9 to 1, or I write from 9 to 2, and that works. And what is your style of writing? What is your form?
I'm more free form in nature, and I'm not tethered to a 9 to 5 type schedule. So 4 in the morning on a Wednesday is almost the same as 4 p.m. on a Sunday, unless I have a definite appointment. I do some teachings and some actual time-based things, but a lot of it is just deadlines, whether self-imposed. I'm more of a streak hitter, if you will, to use a sports analogy. And if I'm feeling it, I just go with it. I don't need a specific space. If I'm zoned in, I don't care. My son could be doing all sorts of things. I could be watching a game, and still the work will come out. So I might be a little bit unusual that way. Having said that, I don't want to knock the people who need that regimentation to be able to do it. So really whatever works. But me, I just sort of go with the flow on things.
Yep, and that's great. I think when you're working on it and you get that creative call, and to be able to honor that and say, okay, hey, it's 4 in the morning and maybe I should be sleeping, but at the same time, I need to work on this. And I get like that too. That's exactly how I am. I mean, I could go either way. I mean, sometimes I could do regimented. It depends on the situation. And then sometimes I'm like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning or 2:30 in the morning, and I have to get up early, but I'm like, no, I have to write this book right now.
Now I'm dying to interview you, because I want to explore that. But I could be making all sorts of noise at 3, 4 in the morning, and I would say, what are you doing? Why are you waking me up? Say, oh, I'm just honoring my call. So I'm going to steal that line.
I'm just honoring it.
When it's there, you got to go for it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about self-publishing a little bit. I, in particular, want to know, what are some of the things that you learned through self-publishing?
Sure. This is the hot ice cream book, which you promised we're going to plug that in a little bit more. But
because it really is that great. It really, truly is.
Well, thank you. But this is actually my 6th foray into self-publishing, and actually POD publishing, print on demand, so not totally some of the things I've learned along the way. When you put the book out, even though it's self-publishing, it's a product to others, and they're going to try to sell you services. I mean, the publisher, the POD publisher, that you may or may not need.
Key being may not.
Yeah, almost like buying a car when
right.
you get the, pinstripe package or whatever. You bought a car in a while, I don't know if that one works. But so I think you learn what you need. If you're not a good editor, you could hire someone, but it doesn't have to be from the publisher. This time around on Hot Ice Cream, my editing is actually pretty strong, so if anyone needs an editor.
Right here.
But I wanted someone to help me with the interior formatting, because I just couldn't get things right. I would justify the line to the edge, and it would just stretch a 3-letter word out across the page, and I couldn't get it right. I didn't know there was a professional formatter. I hired someone who I met through, I was referred to through a LinkedIn books discussion group, and she turned out to be just what I needed for the interior of the book. Same with the cover. I hired someone to do the cover, because I don't do that well, and I wanted to have other options than the in-house person. But I've had pretty good experience so far with the POD publishers, some better than others. Yeah. But you do learn as you go along what it is that you don't necessarily do as well. Another thing is, I guess you found out as an indie author, is you have to be concerned with a lot of the marketing for your book. So whether you hire someone or you just try to stay on top of whatever your social media of choices and your website, it all plays into it. The writing is kind of the easy part. It's the editorial decisions, formatting, cover, marketing that doesn't come as easily for me. But there are people who do that, so get good references and talk to people, let them help you through that process if it's not something you like to do.
Absolutely, and it's funny with the marketing, you know, you learn so quickly that there are different, because you had mentioned to me about LinkedIn, and you know, I use LinkedIn, but I had no idea that, you know, they have discussion groups where you can find an actual cover, you know, you can get your cover done, you can get your interior done by these avenues. And, you know, we've talked about things like Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and there are all different types of social media outlets out there that can really help you as an author. And I was very interested to learn what you did with that. And the interior can really be a process. You know, like I said, I did my own interior, so to know, you know, you can hire people to do that, and you don't need them for everything.
No.
You don't need the, what do you call it, the pinstripe package.
Whatever that was. I don't even know if they still have that.
But, you know, sometimes you do need this or that, you know, and there are a lot of great things with that. So if you could recommend a self-publishing program that you feel is the best, which one would you say that
Of those that I've used, Stephanie, I've had good results with Create Space. They're a division of Amazon. And again, you could do it at very little cost if you don't need the pinstripes and all of the marketing or editing services, if you could do that elsewhere. Yeah. But they've been very responsive as far as I found their customer service, even book orders. I just got a shipment, it only took really a few days. So I've been very happy with them so far. Others may have found, well, I won't mention others because I haven't had success with them necessarily.
You're like, I'm not going to mention them. No,
but if it's not broke, don't fix it. If someone's done well with Smashwords or BookBaby, whoever it might be.
I used BookBaby for my first edition of my book, and they were great. I mean, they were fantastic as far as communication and whatnot, so that, you know, that's another avenue that people could use. Create Space I just used, and I thought they were great too, and I had read a lot of reviews about them. You know, some people are like, oh, you know, Amazon, it's slow, it's this. I didn't have an issue. I didn't have those issues. I thought that they were very, very good. So, I mean, I would recommend them also to people as well. So, what do you think is the hardest thing about being a writer?
A lot of the hard part is just those private hours communing with your thoughts. And even though I've been through it a little bit, had some success, if not, you know, a great sales record. If you're Googling me now, I may not show up on the 20th page, but some success at least finishing my products. You go through the self-doubt of it, at least I do, and many writers do. If you want to make a steady living from books, it's difficult, unless you're famous or infamous. And right now I'm not quite either, I don't believe. So it's a lack of a steady paycheck from books. So that's why I'm trying to do more and more day-to-day writing jobs for people as they need it. And I think that's just it. If you want something a little more steady, a little more predictable, writing may not be your thing. But you could always do it on the side of other jobs. And I think if you have a story that just has to come out for whatever reason, to entertain, to inform, to help people through a tough time, whatever it is, I think it's going to come out. And writing is becoming more democratic because there's so many different publishers, different outlets. So.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. Sometimes just getting the story out, doing that, and if you're committed to being a full-time writer, you honor that commitment. You know, you honor that commitment.
I like honoring that call.
Yeah, honoring the call, honoring the commitment.
We're an honorable species. We writers are very honorable.
And do it with a good sense of humor.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so one of the things that is mentioned in Hot Ice Cream is the Toastmasters. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about hot ice cream, and stay tuned for more.
Kick off your new year at the Croc Center, helping families achieve their full potential with fitness facilities, indoor competition and play pools, performing arts theater, educational programs, and fun for all ages, including seniors and teens on our 24-acre campus in the Kramer Hill section of Camden. Book now for birthday parties and corporate events. Monthly memberships start at $25 for a household of 4. The Ray and Joan Kroc Core Community Center in Camden, where potential meets opportunity.
this up at any point?
Yeah,
Or
you
do
can
or
pick it
do
up
you
at
want
any
to?
time. Do you
Or do you want to?
Kick off your new year at the Croc Center, helping families achieve their full potential with fitness facilities, indoor competition and play pools, performing arts theater, educational programs, and fun for all ages, including seniors and teens on our 24-acre campus in the Kramer Hill section of Camden. Book now for birthday parties and corporate events. Monthly memberships start at $25 for a household of 4. The Ray and Joan Kroc Core Community Center in Camden, where potential meets opportunity.
Welcome back to Read All About It. I'm your host, Stephanie Milan, and we're here with author Matt Goldberg. Matt, let's talk about hot ice cream. I thought it was an absolutely hilarious book. It was so much fun to read, and I'm going to pull my copy out here because I want to read a couple bits from it. But
Well, thank you very much, first of all.
Let's talk about the book first of all. What is the premise behind this book?
The premise behind hot ice cream is those little nothing, everything moments in life. In my case, it's from the perspective of a parent. It took me a while to become a dad, but I've loved even some of the agonizing moments. And though it's a very personal book about those little, again, hot ice cream, little ironic, everyday, nothing moments that mean the world to us, because they show us the joy of seeing the world through a less jaded, a younger, more excitable and exciting point of view. So I put together about 148 little anecdotes from the time when my son was just 2 years old to the present. He's all of 6 and a half now, and just little moments that told tales. And I think even though it was personal, I think it's highly relatable for all parents, or aunts, uncles, grandparents, and even those who remember being a kid.
Yeah,
and the ways that we would think and do things that are just precocious or ironic or sometimes even maddening. So my son Benny is definitely the star of this book.
And you can see how much you love him. It comes right through your writing.
I fake it right now. He's awesome.
Yeah.
My wife and I are blessed with a wonderful kid, so thank you.
And how long did it take? Because this spans over a few years?
Yeah, it spans 4 years or so, age 2 to 6. I didn't know at first that it would be a book. So it started, little things I would post on Facebook. I said, it took me a while to get on Facebook. Am I going to be one of those people that just brags about his son, and by extension, hey, look how great I must be if my son is so precocious and bright. But I over time, I sort of found first that it would make an interesting book. And there's a little more to it than just kids say the darndest things that was written 100 years ago, whatever, and that boasting. But I think there's a lesson there that we should involve ourselves. We should interact with our kids. We should continue to learn from all those around us. And we should continue to be inspired by these little stories and serve as an inspiration to others. So, and within the book, as you saw, and thank you for reading and enjoying it, out of those roughly 148 anecdotes, there are 100 little life lessons. Some are highly satiric, but some, if you look at the index, and I should probably hold this the right way, there's actually some wisdom there, I dare say.
Absolutely, and we're going to read that in just a second.
Sure.
Real quick though, tell me about Toastmasters, because I don't want to miss that point, because it is referenced in this book.
It is referenced a couple times. Toastmasters was established 90 years ago. There are now about 300,000 members worldwide in over 100 countries. So it's a nonprofit organization devoted to communication, oral communication, and leadership. So I've been very involved as a club president of the Voorhees Club, a little plug to my VTC people, and area governor, so I mentor other clubs and other members. So that's one thing that inspires me is very good public speaking, none of which you may be seeing.
All right, so let's read a couple. First of all, I don't know if you could turn page 12. Can you read the hot ice cream one so that you can explain a little bit to everybody?
Sure, so this is the signature one, and this takes a little while. So we're driving home very late at night from a party at our cousin's house. Our car is full. I'm driving, and everyone else is asleep. Or so I think. It's about 12:30 in the morning. At the party, my son Benny was given an ice cream bar, which melted all over his hands and his clothing before he was able to finish it. Evidently, it made quite an impression on him. It's very quiet until Daddy? Yes. I like hot ice cream. Why, Benny? Because it doesn't melt. Now, it took me a little while and sometimes too, and honestly, I think that this 3-year-old at the time figured out if the ice cream was already hot, it couldn't melt all over him. And that just sort of blew me away. And then the little Aesop's Fable, the little life lesson is, often the best solutions are close at hand, and sometimes right on our hands, in our clothing.
Yeah, and that's great. There's another one in here that just had me laughing. There were almost every one of these I was laughing.
All 148?
All 148, but this one was really funny. It's called Supermarket Reading. And you know, you're in the store with Benny. We make a quick shopping run to pick up a couple boxes of pasta, and I'm pointing out how even when shopping you have to use your reading skills. I'm reading the aisle signs, and it goes something like this. See, Benny, with almost everything you do in life, not only in school, you have to use your reading skills, whether shopping, driving, or reading books. You can read everything. Benny says, yeah, Dad, and I can read the books with all the bad words. As I am rendered almost speechless beyond a bewildered what bad words, a man overhears our little exchange, and as he wheels by, turns to me and says, hey, good luck with that one. And the Aesop's Fable there is, give your children the tools to succeed and hope that they use them as you intended. And there were just so many funny parts in this book.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on and on. I think I marked a whole bunch of them. And when he says pre-garden, and Ruby says, how was your first day of preschool? Benny says, but I'm in kindergarten. And she says, no, you'll be there next year. You're still in pre-K. And he's sad. You mean I'm not a garden? I'm a pre-garden?
Yeah,
like,
a lot of the anecdotes just, I had to my wife Ruby, there would be no book, there would be no Benny without her, so she's in a lot of the anecdotes. There's stuff overheard on his play dates. Well, back in the day, we didn't call them play dates, we just walked around the neighborhood. Now we have to arrange play dates, but there's stuff overheard on play dates, school anecdotes, and it's just fun. And it's personal to me in that I remember where I was at these happened, and I would never falsify them. So I try to get them down as organically and authentically as possible.
Again.
Yeah,
and
being
Benny
authentic.
is the star because he's so funny.
Oh, he almost always has the last word, even when I think I have the last word in some of these little vignettes. He always tops it. So that's a challenge because as a writer, you're a little bit of a control freak, and you want to order everything, and you can't. So you just have to let it go, participate, and remember that as parents, as dads, and parents in general, we don't have to have all the answers because
absolutely.
there's all this wisdom around us, sometimes from those who are barely up to our knees.
And the lessons are great in here. One of the lessons says, nurture your inner child. Don't neglect the importance of playing, eating, and sleeping enough. That was what was really, it's funny, as I was reading this last night, and I was thinking about certain things that, we all have certain things we go through in life, and then you read one of these things, and it uplifts you, and you're like, oh, I was meant to read this at this time, right now, because it's inspiring. And I think that so many people would be inspired by this book, reading this, of all different walks of faith, and different ages, and everything.
I really appreciate that, Stephanie. When we were in the green room, and does every studio have a green room? I guess so.
Of course.
But you're telling me through the pages, we kind of get to know Benny a little bit, but I'm hoping, okay, it's a tribute to him, but in its own way, I hope that you'll remember yourself as a child, your own son, your own daughter. It doesn't have to be, he happens to be a boy, but the same wisdom from your daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces. So it's personalized, it's his story and our story. My wife is very much a part of that as well. But I'm hoping it'll be everyone's story. And I'm also hoping on my wish list is, if when this book is successful, I want to help to compile and curate other people's stories.
Very
because, I want people to be involved and enjoy those little nothing, everything moments.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, and so where can everybody get this book?
The one-stop shop is my website, tipofthegoldberg.com, tipofthegoldberg.com. The book is available on Amazon. Just punch in hot ice cream. And also CreateSpace has a website. And through my own website and CreateSpace's store, you could punch in a discount code and save additionally. So
Very nice.
yeah, and I'm all about selling them through organizations so they can make a little bit. So all that's sort of in the process, and an ebook is in the works as well.
Very
so.
nice. That's
Thanks for asking.
Oh, absolutely. So let's talk about Word of Patia, because
Okay.
this is a book that I also was very drawn to. Word of Patia is, well, why don't you tell us what it
Okay.
is? So
Word of Patia, Volume 1. It's an encyclopedia of real fake words. Thank you. Not 148, I don't know, 263, let's go. But for a while, I just started punning on words, and then I would have an idea, I don't know, barcolepsy. You know, dogs that couldn't help falling asleep, they would just drop off of the different species and what they do, and I made up fake names. So I'm kind of weird like that. I think I came from a family that both used language precisely, but also used it creatively. I like to do both. So it usually started with a play on words, and then I came up with a definition. From there, as you saw, I just take it in a million directions. I make up fake practitioners of certain, organic chemistry, and who might be the professor, what might be the college. I become a persona interviewing different people. So it's just really fun. If you enjoy wordplay, and I dare say wordplay on steroids, go for it. It's a lot of fun.
And again, I've told you this a million times. I really think you should have people acting these little words out. You're trying to have a conversation using these
I
words.
know a very
because
talented local actress and author, so that might be another conversation.
So I want to read a couple of parts from here. I'm going to read one and have you read one.
Sure.
This is the word vegetarian. So a vegetarian, which it's a noun, very important to know, is one who is mesmerized by the appearance and aura of vegetables, often unnerving one's table mates in the process. And the sample sentence you use is, Ruthie vowed to never return to the vegetarian convention, allowing that she would feel more comfortable at a table of cannibals.
And we'll find out.
So, and then you go on to, you have a little interview here. So this one is, one of the pleasures of writing this book is the opportunity to speak with fascinating people such as Mars Greenman, author of the powerful Oogling Okra, My Life as a Vegetarian. Below is part of the conversation. And Matt says, Mars, how did you become a vegetarian? My mom forced me to eat a lot of vegetables. Is there more to the story? Your book's 455 pages long. And Mars says, there is, but I find it easier to write about than to talk about. It's very painful, but I'll try. We were forced, sometimes at gunpoint, to clean our plates before we were allowed to leave the dinner table. My sister, Lana, had no problems with this policy and went on to become a competitive broccoli eating champion. And you go on with this interview, and it's just so funny. Did you have a particular word in here or something that you wanted to share that was special to you or that you liked more than the others?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, vegetarian is one of my favorite ones because it seems just so bizarre. Do you want to act one out?
Sure, I'll do it.
If we do it, so let's see. It's alphabetical, so I should be able to find it before we run out of this. Not rote dentistry, not penetrary, penelodian, which was one. Oh, okay. The word we're going to do is bordello.
Okay.
B-O-R-E-D-E-L-L-O.
We only have a short amount of time, so we might have to run through it a little bit. But let's see what we can do.
Bordello, with an E, is an unusual institution in which female librarians are paid to read to their mostly male clients until they fall asleep. Sample sentence, because you need those. Ruprecht's insomnia came to be costly as he made frequent stops to the bordello to get a proper night's sleep. And then I have an interview with Sandra Snoozelman, who is the madam of the Book Lovers Bordello, a fine institution in our hometown of Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I don't know if we have time to
I think we have to wrap up,
Okay.
but just give everybody just a little gist of it. At some point you say, what is that word in there? Bookstitute?
Yeah, I call the women. So Sandra, why do you call the women you employ, and what qualities do you look for in a bookstitute? And then she was stunned by that. Of course, this real fake person, Sandra, it's not bad. We don't really have any name other than Bordello Babes. But I look for someone who is well-read, has a soothing voice, can work flexible hours, and is not so attractive that you'll keep clientele up all night reading.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Matt, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Read All About It.
Do we have to hold it? So the first segment was longer, right? So that's what I
Yeah,
have to
I think that went really,
No, we got a
really
lot.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
Just shots of what
Yeah,
things like
yeah,
and
sure. See if they can take it real quick.
I clicked it.
I don't want to do it. That'd be awesome.
Kick off your new year at the Croc Center, helping families achieve their full potential with fitness facilities, indoor competition and play pools, performing arts theater, educational programs, and fun for all ages, including seniors and teens.